Welcome to Gaia's Love, a podcast of brief messages to help humanity bridge the gap to the new earth. My name is Vivienne Gerard. It is my delight to be a scribe for consciousness today, sharing the wisdom that flows through from Source. Here we go. Episode 320. It is Friday today, and the sun is shining in through the window as I record this. It's still chilly out, but it really is a beautiful, bright winter day here. So I am feeling much better. I rested well. I did 2 yoga sessions yesterday, which really helped, and got a good night's sleep. And so this morning I had a little bit different schedule than normal. We had a couple things to get done, and I was running around getting some errands out of the way. And then I got back home. It was about 11:30. And the reason I'm sharing this is because this is how subtle and absolutely powerful our intuition can be. And so when we listen, it takes us exactly where most serves. And yet, as it's trying to guide us, there's often this little voice going, what? No, I don't think so. So that's exactly what happened this morning. I got back from all my running, and I was hungry, and I knew we had lots of good, healthy food here, but I just kept craving Indian, like this delicious little place near us that I like to eat at. And so I wasn't sure, back and forth. And I'm like, no, it's what I want. There must be a spice in it that my body is craving, so I'm going to go pick it up. Ran down, picked up the food, so excited. I'm on the way back. And I was like, oh, you know what I always used to do was read the gene keys while I would eat my Indian. And so I'm going to eat lunch and read the gene keys. So I get home, open up the gene keys, trusting the intuition of where it guides me. And it took me right to number 43, which is titled Breakthrough, and it's all about listening. Could it be any more perfect with all that we've been looking at or listening to this week in this space? You know, the ability to be still and to go inward, to really trust your own voice more than anybody else's. Richard Rudd just sums it up in the Gene Keys in the most powerful, beautiful way that he does. So I share with you what would it be? The gift. I share with you the gift of an exploration of the Gene Keys in 2020. Buy yourself the book and take a little bit of time every week and read some of what he offers in this book. And it will take you probably a year, like it did me, to work through it. And who you will be on the other side of that year is astounding. And it is because of the energy and the truth and the wisdom that he puts so eloquently into this enormous and amazing book. I did this in 2016. I work from home. I do my coaching calls from home. And so my lunch hours are, mine to schedule, and then they kind of move throughout the day, lunch hour. And so I have a lot of flexibility. And that year I would drive down, get my Indian, come back, sit at my kitchen table, and just eat this amazing food and this nourishment of wisdom in the Gene Keys. So consider that for next year. It is a powerful and amazing path to walk. Today, I bring to you Gene Key number 43. I'm just going to read the shadow and the gift, and then I invite you to buy the book and read the rest of the 43rd Gene Key for yourself. So if you're not familiar with the Gene Keys, if you haven't been listening to this podcast for long, it is based on the 64 Gene Keys, and each one has a shadow, a gift, and a mastery. And the structure, the way that Richard Rudd sees this genetic code within each of us, is that we tend to live as a humanity, as a collective group of humans on this planet in the shadow, because we're so controlled by fear and our own worries. And so when we can step out of that shadow and into the gift, we open up this whole new way of seeing the world and experiencing ourselves and all of those around us. And once we evolve through that, we move into what he calls the Siddhi, or the mastery. So this 43rd gene key is titled Breakthrough. The shadow is deafness, the gift is insight, and the mastery is epiphany. I'm going to read to you the shadow and the gift. Okay, so settle in. It's good stuff. The 43rd shadow of deafness: survival, service, and surrender. There is a natural process built into the lives of human beings, and this process essentially has 3 stages: survival, service, and surrender. These 3 archetypal stages roughly represent the 3 levels or bands that form the spectrum of human consciousness upon which the 64 gene keys are built. At the shadow level, you are always operating out of your genetic survival mode, which is keyed into the frequency of fear. At the gift level, you enter into service mode, in which a transformation has taken place inside that enables you to operate more efficiently within the whole. The final stage involves a complete transformation as your individuated awareness is surrendered, and your DNA is finally allowed to function with absolutely no interference from within. What is common to each of these 3 stages is the transformation process itself. At each level, it occurs in sudden leaps. We tend to move through long periods in which it appears that very little about us alters, and then suddenly, every now and again, an experience or event occurs which utterly changes our lives. These transformational events can never be predicted in life, neither can the effects they have on us. As the ancient texts have always attested, the only certainty in life is change. At the shadow level of awareness, change is all you really want, but true change is denied you. It is because you want to change that you cannot change. The 43rd shadow of deafness is what prevents you from hearing the simplest of truths. In this sense, deafness is the inability to hear what is going on inside you. Because the shadow frequency is a field of fear created by human beings, you cannot hear the truth inside you due to the white noise generated by the subacoustic aura of humanity. The 43rd gene key is about acoustics and inner listening. The gift of insight requires a calm inner environment, and yet the lower frequencies are so deafening that it is rare to find a human being with a clear, still aura. One clear insight from a higher frequency can completely change your life, because true insight is a mutation within the structure of your DNA. The 43rd shadow blocks such inner events by tuning you into the lower planetary frequencies of pure noise. The 43rd G key is about surprises, and it will not reveal its secrets to a taut mind. T-A-U-T, taut. The pulse of life follows a deeply focused rhythm that periodically undergoes unexpected fluctuations. This is true from the movements of the galaxies right down to the minute workings of the subatomic world. We can see these rhythms everywhere, but if we look long enough, we can also see the anomalies that break the pattern. This is why science, for example, has been unable to explain everything in the universe, because the goalposts keep changing. The human mind is unhappy living in such an uncertain universe. As an aspect of the universe, our very bodies are subject to these same fluctuations, and we call them our moods. At the shadow frequency, individuals do not want to accept that they cannot control their inner workings and their moods. We spend our entire lives trying to create the illusion of security and stability. Much of the world still exists at a level of subsistence that cannot afford to be concerned about how they feel. They are simply engaged in survival. But for those societies that have pulled free from the primal survival frequency, fear still persists. As the saying goes, we move from being warriors to being warriors. I'm going to spell it. It's warriors like the fighter, W-A-R-R, to being warriors like I'm worried about something, W-O-R-R. The 43rd gene key is about the progression of consciousness in form, and this progression is measured through a heightening of efficiency in the functioning of that form. In wealthy societies, for example, It is technological breakthroughs that allow a greater level of efficiency and autonomy throughout the society. Eventually, these breakthroughs will doubtless spread to the whole of human civilization, but even that will not make us happier. In many respects, once you have more individual freedom, you realize the depth of your own dissatisfaction. This realization constitutes a vital stage in human evolution. The fear that governs the shadow frequency specifically attaches itself to the way your body feels. This sets up a great dilemma inside you because it makes you search for happiness. What we humans call happiness is simply one aspect of our natural chemistry. Sometimes you experience it, and sometimes you don't. A great deal of the time, we do not feel happy because we spend so much of our time trying to create happiness in the future. Modern society is locked into trying to create external security. We assume that happiness comes with financial or marital security, whereas in fact it does not depend on anything external. The true purpose of the 43rd shadow at a collective genetic level is to create a more efficient society so that we can arrive at the breakthrough that nothing external can buy us happiness. Our deafness to our fear eventually leads us to confront it. This is the power of the shadow frequency as a driving force of evolution. The 43rd shadow impacts you on a purely individual level. You are really only interested in taking away your own uncertainty, so you try to find the perfect relationship, and you try to make enough money so you can relax, or you try to change your body or your lifestyle so you will feel good about yourself. Modern society is built upon the individual's desperation to escape the way we feel. In truth, we are not really deaf at all. We are simply too busy worrying to hear, or we are too busy knowing what we are doing to listen. Our dilemma is that we try to escape the loop of not feeling fulfilled, and in doing so, we in fact ensure that we stay in that loop. Everything you do to try to reach fulfillment actually has the effect of making your life more complicated. Your hearing is really fine. It is simply drowned out by the internal noise inside your head. In our modern world, everyone is expected to know what to do in life as though everything were absolutely sure. The truth is that nothing is sure, and deep down inside, no matter how you adjust or improve your lifestyle, your body always comes back and reminds you of this. The original Chinese name for this 43rd hexagram is breakthrough, and as we have seen, life is about sporadic breakthroughs. As you rise up in the planetary hierarchy, you realize that no amount of individual freedom or wealth can fill the void inside you. Only when you finally realize this does the first great breakthrough come. This breakthrough occurs when you begin to face the fact that you simply don't feel comfortable in the world. No individual can really feel comfortable in society, because where society tends to be consistent and relatively stable, the individual is neither of these things. To precipitate this great breakthrough in awareness, you have to look honestly into one of your deepest fears, the fear of being rejected by society. Inside every individual is a pulsing, rebellious spirit, and it is this spirit that finally begins to awaken when you realize how deafened you have been by that which society, culture, and even history expects of you. The 43rd gift, insight, the creative rebel. This is so good. This part is so good. All right, here's what Richard Rudd has to say. It is through the 43rd gift that the spirit of the rebel is born. Every human being is born to be a rebel, in the sense of filling a space in the world that cannot be duplicated by another. The wonder of the human being is this unpredictable, spontaneous, liquid genius. As individuals, when we awaken to our true creative potential, that which is hidden in our DNA begins to rise up and pull us out of the survival frequency. It is then that we enter into the stage of service. When we think of this word service, we may have a preconceived notion of what it entails. However, service to the whole is not the same as service to society. The service that the 43rd gift brings into the world is rebellion. Without the creative passion and insight of the individual, life would not only be dull, but would probably cease altogether. Without the spontaneous, the unexpected, The dangerous, we simply could not evolve. A society caught in the shadow frequency does not like the rebellious spirit at all. Such people cannot be controlled and appear to threaten the very security that human beings have spent so much time and energy trying to create. The nature of the individual human spirit is one of romance. We humans are all really poets, pirates, and lovers. We refuse to be categorized or stereotyped into a fixed role in society. It is therefore hugely ironic that even though every single human being alive is potentially just a hero or heroine, we have created a world in which such people are labeled outsiders. We worship these heroes, but we do so from a safe distance. Therefore, the creative contribution of the awakened individual does not serve our society directly. It serves other individuals by inspiring them to take the same risk and discover the latent genius that lies inside them. Such service ultimately comes back to the whole because it constantly shakes up the system, and all systems need regular shaking, otherwise they become frozen and stagnant. At the gift level of frequency, the very handicap of the lower frequency, deafness, actually becomes a great ally. Instead of not listening to yourself, you now stop listening to the status quo. This is the first law of the rebel, to trust in your inner voice no matter what the consequences. This is the true meaning of the gift of insight. Such insight does not make the rebel a destructive force. He or she is not a reactionary who takes out their frustration on the external or wastes time blaming and condemning others. That is the game of the shadow frequency. The rebel awakening through the 43rd gift is immensely creative. He or she simply cuts a new pathway without worrying about where it is going. This is the deafness of genius, to forget the future altogether and simply be the conduit for creative insight. True insight delights in simplicity, which in turn brings about efficiency. The 43rd gift reflects everything back into you. You cannot afford to trust any external source that claims wisdom or knowledge. It is not that you stop listening to such things, but that you stop being influenced by them. It is only when you trust your inner core that the breakthrough comes from deep within yourselves, from the DNA itself. As this 43rd gift is rooted in the acoustic field, the insight is not seen but heard subacoustically, and it is experienced as a flood of knowing inside the cells of your body. The process of insight is a very transformational experience as it touches you right to your core. You cannot make it happen. The only way you can experience insight is unexpectedly, so you have to give up looking for it. It is rather like the process of writing a song or a piece of poetry. The more you try, the harder it becomes. It has to be allowed to happen in its own time and in its own way. Once it does happen, you experience great inner freedom because every insight opens you to wider and wider experiences of human awareness. In Japanese culture, one of the key words for insight is satori, which implies a sudden breakthrough from within. No teacher or system can lead you to the experience of satori, but these moments occur more frequently as you relax more deeply into your inner nature. As they become more frequent, a certain deep spirit of trust begins to pervade and suffuse your being, as though life's mystery were awakening directly inside you. You begin to realize that although you cannot create these breakthroughs, you can expand the environment in which they seem to occur. This environment is one of deep relaxedness and solitude. Such solitude does not mean you have to withdraw from the world, but that you use the same deafness from the shadow to filter out all but the essential and the beautiful from your life. You will become a more contemplative being, and your gait through the world will become more sauntering than directed. In this way, your awareness turns inward without losing any of its worldliness, making you unique but integrated, profound yet accessible. The 43rd gene key is bonded in your DNA to the 34th gene key. Together, this chemical coupling creates a codon ring called the Ring of Destiny. Human destiny is caught between the polarity of these two gene keys. with the 34th representing the human urge to evolve and become more, and the 43rd representing the divine urge to involve and dive down into the world of form. The secret of this codon ring is the secret of timing, and through the ages, it has whispered a great truth into the ears of those whose insight is developed enough to hear it. Life is a mystery in which chance and love are dancing together. The more you allow love, the more chance appears to work in your favor. When you love totally, unconditionally, even chance is shown to be an illusion, and the underlying cosmic geometry or cosmometry is revealed behind all things. It is only then that your timing becomes perfect, and that which appears to be random is understood as an aspect of the holographic universe unfolding its myth through your life. Destiny is governed by the combination of human strength and insight. Only at the highest acidic level do you transcend the force of destiny altogether. Thank you, Richard Rudd. Feels like the most beautiful way to wrap up this week, this powerful shift with the full moon in Gemini, and step into all that is going to unfold before the end of 2019. So I encourage you, listen within, turn down the noise externally, and trust the way that you're guided inside. I will see you back here on Monday. Have a beautiful weekend, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this vibration of pure love. I invite you to join me on Sunday mornings for an hour of meditation, visualization, and energy healing, where we realign our mind, body, spirit with Gaia and Source. You can learn more at mysouljourney.com. Let's take this message of Gaia's love out into all of our relationships and communities today. So much love from my heart to yours.